Isn't it interesting that the Bible has no real imagery of what the devil is? I hate to bust your bubble, but the Satan that they're talking about that's got everybody so scared doesn't exist. It never did, at least not on the level on what you think it is, of some man under the ground with a pitchfork. What happened was they degraded or villainized the God that preceded it. So in order for me to get you to follow my thing, I have to demonize or villainize the God before. Otherwise, you won't get these new converts. That's why you don't get Christians say you shouldn't listen to the Old Testament. Well, wait a minute, hold on. Isn't the first 5 books of your Bible the Old Testament? In this particular case, by the time the Islamic comes, they villainize the Christians by saying the Hebrews and them had a religion, but their religion became corrupt. But nevertheless, the first 5 books of the Quran is the same Torah. What we're talking about here is a political thing on how these so-called devils come into view. Usually, one man's God is another man's devil. And in the ancient world, in order for the newer religion to strive, they had to villainize the actual deities that preceded it. But the actual deities that preceded it is the same deities that they end up worshiping in the first place. Every time you have a later generation that rises up, and they don't understand the ancient science of the earlier generation, the part that they don't understand, they sweep it in a pile and call it evil. The first thing they do is they name Set, the original pre-dynastic god, the evil god, put him in the mythology. But we notice something here, and it's interesting. If Set was evil, why when you always see the Egyptians showing their pantheon of gods, Set is always included among them? Or whenever you see the Egyptian pharaohs and you see this particular picture, you will see them standing between Horus, which is the precursor to Jesus. Horus is Jesus. And then you will see them standing between Set, which is supposed to be the devil. Why is the pharaohs always standing between Horus, which is supposed to be good, and Set, which is supposed to be evil? Or did the ancient people even view evil in the way that we think things are now? You see what I'm saying? Or were they talking about different aspects of polarities? It's not talking about evil as in wicked, as it is talking about different types of formulas and different types of energies. Now, this is interesting here because you got a god in Egypt called Khnum. And Khnum shows up with the horns, okay? But Khnum is also supposed to be a god that created man. Let's go on. In Egypt, you got the god Bes. He's a funny-looking figure, a little short, pygmy or twa-looking figure with a monster face. And later on, the god Bes becomes the goat god Pan. Now we're getting somewhere, because the goat god Pan is the precursor to the devil. So in so many words, years later, the Christians that didn't have anything in their scriptures to depict Satan, because the scriptures they had was borrowed from, they came out of Egypt, they went to Greece, they went to Rome, and Rome turned them into several books of the Bible, and several books of the Bible, and they had 8 conferences to whittle it down to the Bible that you have now, and last thing is the King James Version. So, but in the legend of that, they didn't have any kind of formula or any kind of image for the devil. So what they did is they went back in time and they chose the Greek version of the goat god Pan, which would be the Egyptian version of Bes, Khnum, and also Set. Depends on what system you're coming from. But the goat god Pan, which is also a later form of Dionysus, and Dionysus is the god of the wine, the vine, just as you see that Jesus is. So this goat god Pan that they choose ends up becoming the image of the devil. So the people out here that is afraid of this goat-looking thing that will later on become the Baphomet is afraid of an astrological sign. You see? So you got the ancient scientists that's talking about astrology, and then you got people later on that come and they don't know the astrological aspect, or they've been taught that the Bible has nothing to do with astrology, which the Bible is a book of astrology. So what is this astrological sign? Capricorn. And why is it so feared? Capricorn only means a certain time when it's a period when you get things in order. Where do you think the origin of the New Year's resolution come from? Well, it's a time, it's the New Year's, and I need to get things in order. And if I can get things in order, I can realign myself to the time when spring comes in so I can reap the abundance. So what we're talking about here is an ancient astrological sign. That's why the goat becomes what is called the scapegoat. Do you know the original origin of the word scapegoat means that they were going to blame all things evil on the goat? So here we are in the modern version because we have been taught things as a child to fear the devil, and then they'll show a later-day version of what they would see the devil, which was actually an astrological sign of Capricorn. And then years later, the people get this all discombobulated, and all of a sudden now we are fearing an astrological sign, which is the astrological sign is called the black planet. And the black is also talking about carbon, 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, which is carbon, which is the basis for melanin and the basis for black holes, dark matter, dark substance, and the fabric of the universe. The word Satan can be also traced back to 666, which is also talking about Titan. And Titan, 666, is another ancient name for Titan. The Titans were an ancient group of people that was overthrown in the cosmos because they were of, and one of the Titans of the cosmos was also called Kronos. Kronos was overthrown, and his children basically rose up and overthrew the Titans, burnt the Titans up, and turned the Titans into humans. Kronos is also called time, and later on, Father Time is Saturn. It's called Saturn Kronos. Here goes again. These are these origins of the devil. If the Titans were overthrown and their blood was turned into man, you know, remember Satan was overthrown from heaven and he was bound for 1,000 years. Well, how do you bind a god? You put a god in a human body, and that's how you bind a god. Ooh. Do you know that the word devil, which means double, or diabos, or doppelganger, which means your double self, the word devil means man in the physical. So in so many words, these were different locations of energies that later on became demonized, you see, over the years, and they had nothing to do with evil as we think.